Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert, coming to you live from the beautiful hills of Ibiakuran. Let's take a look at the headlines. Presidency describes senators' impeachment calls as mere bravado. Federal government to lease 3 aircraft to commence Nigeria as flight operations. Plus, French President Macron slams African hypocrisy over Ukraine war. Details of these stories and more in a moment. First in our news tonight, Presidency has called the bluff of senators from opposition parties who issued a 6-week ultimatum to President Muhammadu Buhari to tackle the security challenges bedeviling the country earlier today. The lawmakers staged a walkout from the Senate and threatened to commence impeachment proceedings against President Buhari should he fail to address the insecurity within the period given by the lawmakers. Reacting to the development on a televised program, presidential spokesman Femi Adesina said the statesmen were merely playing to the gallery. He added that there was not much they would do after what he called the drama which played out in the upper chamber. Away from that, President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the appointments of Tijani Kaura as Managing Director of the Oil and Gas Free Zones Authority for an initial term of 3 years. The President also approved the appointment of Augustine Umahi as Secretary of Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission for an initial term of 4 years. President Buhari further reappointed Captain Junaid Abdullahi as the Executive Secretary of the Border Communities Development Agency for a final 4-year term. The appointments were made known in a statement by the Director of Information in the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Willie Bassi. In another development, President Buhari has reiterated his administration's commitment to consolidate the nation's democracy, saying Nigeria is working towards conducting free, fair and credible elections in 2023. President Buhari stated this in Liberia as he joined other world leaders to attend the 175th independence anniversary of the West African nation. The Nigerian leader called on his West African colleagues to do all within their powers to ensure that elections were conducted in their countries in an atmosphere of trust, freedom and transparency, so that the sub-region can be insulated from unconstitutional takeovers. President Buhari commended his Liberian counterpart, Dr. George Weah, for his demonstration of love for the country and the pursuance of peace, unity and progress. While urging the Liberian leader to do more, he assured him of Nigeria's continued support. The President of Liberia, Dr. George Weah, in response, thanked President Buhari and all the West African leaders for their attendance and support. Now on security matters, federal government has written off statements credited to terrorists in a recent viral video threatening to abduct President Buhari and Kaduna State Governor Nasser El-Rufai as laughable. Briefing State House correspondents after the Federal Executive Council meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, said such an approach was mere propaganda. The minister, however, gave indications that President Buhari would be hosting a Security Council meeting tomorrow in view of emerging threats to the country from terrorist groups who appear to be emboldened since the successful jailbreak at Kuje Correctional Center in Abuja. In a related development, the federal government is considering asylum for a number of Cameroonians wanting to take refuge in Nigeria. Minister of Information and Culture Lai Mohammed, who spoke on behalf of the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management Sadiya Farouk, said a standard operating procedure would be observed for the asylum seekers to verify if they were terrorists or not. All these plans are being molded just as the nation's capital faces security threats from terrorist groups. Explaining the rationale for the deliberations, Lai said the issue of the standard operating procedure for asylum seekers for Cameroon was not a matter that started today. To aviation now, where the federal government has approved the leasing of 3 aircrafts for the commencement of operations for the country's carrier, Nigeria Air. The Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika, confirmed this to State House correspondents at the close of the Federal Executive Council meeting chaired by President Muhammadu Buhari at the Council Chambers of the Presidential Villa, Abuja. Sirika noted that the airline would begin with 3 aircrafts made by Airbus and Boeing, running solely domestic routes, then expand into regional and intercontinental routes. Meanwhile, the federal government has declared that there are no immediate solutions to the current crisis rocking Nigeria's aviation sector, as the cause of the major challenge in the industry is a global issue. Recall that domestic airlines in Nigeria have been faced with a stiff challenge posed by the hike in the price of aviation fuel, popularly called Jet A1. This has also warranted an increase in airfares by airlines that could manage to get the commodity, while others that could not survive the situation have temporarily suspended operations. The President Airline Operators of Nigeria, Abdul Manaf Sarina, said the aviation fuel crisis began from 180 naira per litre, but had now jumped to 1,000 naira per litre, adding that assessing forex crisis was a huge burden on the industry. Reacting to the crisis in the sector at a meeting with officials of the Airline Operators of Nigeria in Abuja, the Minister of Aviation, Hadi Sirika, said government was aware of the challenges, but noted that there was no immediate solution to the concerns. The minister, however, said he would meet with relevant stakeholders, including the Central Bank of Nigeria, so the airlines could assess forex at the official rate rather than the black market price. On legislative matters, House of Representatives has passed for second reading a bill seeking to amend Section 11 of the Central Bank of Nigeria Act to ban holders of the office of governor or deputy governor of the bank from participating in partisan politics. When passed into law and assented to by the President, the amendment will ensure that future governors of the CBN resign their position when they become members of political parties or participate in partisan politics. Leading the debate on the bill, Sada Soli said the proposed legislation was not targeted at any particular individual, but aimed at protecting the image and integrity of the CBN. Meanwhile, the House of Representatives has extended the scope of its investigation of payments for subsidy on premium motor spirit, popularly called petrol, to the last administration led by President Goodluck Jonathan. Recall that the House had on June 29 resolved to investigate payments for subsidy on petroleum products, especially petrol, that fell under the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari. Speaker of the House, Femi Wajabiamila, had set up an ad hoc committee to investigate the petroleum product subsidy administration from 2017 to 2021, which was mandated to report back to the House within 8 weeks for further legislative action. At plenary, Chairman of the House Committee on Rules and Business, Abubakar Fulata, moved a motion to call for an extension of the probe since Jonathan was president till 2015, when Buhari took over. Still on legislative matters, the House of Representatives has asked the Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs to embrace and adopt the report of the Silencing the Guns project to silence illegal acquisition of weapons in Africa. The House also expressed concern that SIM cards hitherto barred in the country remained functional across Nigerian borders, especially in neighboring countries. It asked the National Communications Commission and telecom operators to ensure that once SIM cards were barred in the country, they could not be used in any other part of the world. Adopting a motion on notice brought by Ahmed Moner, the House also asked relevant ministries, departments and agencies to key into the roadmap, urging the Office of the National Security Advisor to fully adopt the report and pass it down to other relevant security agencies. In the meantime, House of Representatives has called on the National Identity Management Commission to redesign the National Identity Card such that the national identity number of the bearer is written on it. The call followed the unanimous adoption of a motion of urgent public importance moved by a member of the House, Frederick Agbedi, at plenary. Moving the motion, titled "Need to have National Identity Number Displayed on the National Identity Card," Agbedi noted that the NIN is used by the government of many countries as a means of tracking their citizens' permanent and temporary residency for work and other purposes. The lawmaker also noted that the NIN was issued and managed by the NIMC, which was established to manage Nigerians' identity in government institutions, register individuals and introduce general multi-purpose cards. According to him, the NIN, which matches one's biometrics, is used for virtually all transactions in Nigeria requiring identity verification. Now, the House of Representatives has resolved to investigate the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) over comments made by the resident electoral commissioner in Akwa Ibom State, Mike Igini. This resolution was sequel to a motion moved by Mark Bila during plenary. Bila said Igini recently claimed that any politician with 2 nomination forms, if convicted, risked 2 years imprisonment. In his motion, Bila said the comment by Igini was a misinterpretation of the Electoral Act 2022. He added that lack of due process in the commission allowed Igini to make such comments. In a related development, House of Representatives has decried that Nigeria was losing over $1 billion to the fight against malaria annually. The Parliament is also investigating the federal government's National Malaria Elimination Program for allegedly breaching the country's local content policy and importing mosquito nets without approval. At plenary today, the House unanimously adopted a motion jointly sponsored by 3 of its members, Benjamin Kalu, Yusuf Sununu and Abubakar Dahiru, titled "Call for Intervention in Nigeria's Losses in the Fight Against Malaria." In the motion, the lawmakers noted that Nigeria accounted for 27% of malaria cases and 31% of malaria deaths worldwide, with malaria killing no fewer than 200,000 Nigerians and afflicting 61 million others in 2021 alone. To the judiciary now, where Justice Jadesola Adeyemi Ajayi of the Federal Capital Territory High Court sitting at Maitama today ordered that the former Accountant General of the Federation, Ahmed Idris, be returned to Kuje prison till July 28. The judge ordered his return to prison pending the delivery of a ruling on whether to admit him and his co-accused persons to bail or not. Following their arraignment by the Anti-Graft Agency, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC) on July 22, the former Accountant General applied that he be admitted to bail by the court to enable him prepare his defense in the 14-count criminal charges brought against him by the federal government. After listening to arguments from both prosecution and defense counsel at the proceedings, Justice Adeyemi Ajayi announced that she will make her decision known tomorrow. The former Accountant General, alongside Godfrey Akindele, Mohammed Usman, and Gezawa Commodity Markets and Exchange Limited, were arraigned by EFCC on July 22 on a 14-count charge of stealing and criminal breach of trust to the tune of 109 billion naira. Reports say at the resumed hearing today, counsel to the first defendant, Chris Uche, moved his client's bail application, praying for the order of the court to admit the former Accountant General to bail. In a separate development, 36 state governors in Nigeria are calling for a review of the reintroduced National Water Resources Bill. The resolution was reached at the teleconference meeting of the Nigeria Governors Forum in a secular issue today. Chairman of the forum and Ekiti State Governor Kayode Fayemi said the bill should be reviewed to accommodate the concerns of all states. The governors argued that the bill does not adequately address the interests of the states and is inconsistent with the provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. They said the bill should be reviewed with a view to accommodating the concerns of all states. The governors also unanimously agreed to spearhead the livestock productivity and resilience support projects sponsored by the World Bank. In education, Nigeria Labour Congress has moved its protest to the National Assembly, Abuja, before the Labour Union arrived at the Legislative House's security and reportedly been beefed up with fierce-looking security agents spread all over the complex. Reports say the human and vehicular traffic was massive, with motorists finding it difficult to enter the complex. The Senate proceedings, which already started at about 11 a.m. with the opening prayer by the Senate President Ahmed Lawan, went into a closed-door session a few minutes after the NLC arrived at the complex. Today's protest was led by the NLC National President Ayuba Waba. Still in education, the Academic Staff Union of Universities ASUU has called for a bill to regulate how children of public officers enroll in schools outside the shores of Nigeria. Chairman of the University of Niger Delta University Wilberforce Island chapter of the union, Professor Kingdom Tombra, made this known at the solidarity protest organized by the Nigeria Labour Congress in Yenagoa. According to Tombra, if the bill is passed to law, it will build a better society by developing formidable educational institutions and improving funding of the university system in Nigeria. The NLC embarked on a two-day nationwide protests in solidarity with ASUU and other affiliate unions over the lingering industrial action in public universities in Nigeria. Now in politics, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, says there is a limit to what it can do in terms of curtailing vote buying during elections in the country. The INEC commissioner representing Niger, Kogi and Kwara states in north-central Nigeria, Professor Mohammed Adam, stated this in Minna, Niger State, during a visit to monitor the ongoing voter registration exercise in the state. Professor Adam explained that vote buying was a national issue, a sociological problem, and a dimension to jeopardize the process of credible elections in Nigeria. The INEC commissioner also cautioned religious and traditional leaders across the country on the need to advise their subjects to desist from selling their votes during elections, while advising politicians to always form the habit of accepting defeat during elections. Still in politics, the All Progressives Congress has selected Senator Abdullahi Gobe as its new Senate leader. The decision by the ruling party was contained in a letter written by the national chairman of the APC, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, and read by Senate President Ahmed Lawan during the plenary session today. Senator Gobe replaces Senator Yahaya Abdullahi following his resignation as Senate leader and defection from the APC to the opposition People's Democratic Party. Away from that, members of the People's Democratic Party's Senate caucus have met with the party's presidential and vice presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar and Governor Ifeanyi Okowa as part of efforts to reconcile aggrieved party members ahead of the 2023 general elections. PDP chieftains such as Nyesom Wike are believed to be unhappy about recent developments in the party. Recall that Wike lost the party's presidential ticket to Atiku and was also passed over for the vice presidency candidate slot. Meanwhile, another eminent PDP stakeholder, Governor Samuel Ortom of Benue State, has questioned the way Wike has been treated, saying he should have been properly consulted on the decision of Okowa as the party's vice presidential candidate. Still to come in the news. Senate to invite Emefiele over naira devaluation. Do stay with us.
A knowledge of global businesses, economic activities, a new wave of the stock market, forex market, cryptocurrencies, and NFTs creates new dynamics towards emerging market millionaires and billionaires. From the dot-com era to the oil booms, the fundamental news drives the market. This is Business 360, taking you to the business around the globe. Join us from 11:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. weekdays, exclusive on Spectrum Television. Business 360, your prism to world businesses.
Many thanks for staying tuned. Now, back here, some residents of Akwa Ibom State in Itonodoro, Mbioku, Ikorodun, and Itogiton and Asantengatan communities in Ikono and Oborokara local government areas have decried the invasion of their community, destruction of farm produce, and other criminal activities by herders. Speaking with Spectrum Television, an indigene of the area and a human rights activist, Otuekong Success, said efforts had been made to draw the attention of the local government chairman, the village head, and other key political leaders of the area to wade into the matter, which has been on for 2 months now. The human rights activist called on the Akwa Ibom State government to come to the aid of the community, as the herders are allegedly planning on all invasion.
Now, Dom Emmanuel had on September 15, 2021, gave assent to a bill banning open grazing of livestock in the state. Despite the existence of this law, there have been several reports from different communities in Akwa Ibom State alleging the invasion of herders, destruction of farm produce, amongst other criminal activities. One of such is the call from some community in Ikono and Oborokara local government areas.
I want to call on His Excellency the Governor, dear Governor. He has signed into law and buying, a law banning open grazing, and I stand with him. These cattle railers should be removed from my village. The government should do everything possible to make sure they get these people out of our village. They should take their cows out of our village. Our crops have been destroyed. Our women have been raped. People are afraid going to the stream, going to the market. They have run about for safety. And the police arresting innocent people. The government should please come on. They should stop these arrests. Last 2 weeks, 4 people were arrested and they went on bail when they did not commit any crime. Those that committed crime and they know they committed crime, those people should be arrested and not the innocent villagers. So I want the government to come to our help us in Ikono, and send away S-men from Itonodoro, Mbioku, Itogiton, Santang, and all these villages so that the people can go into the farm and go to the stream freely. That's my message to the government.
If food sufficiency is to be achieved, lives and properties secured, it is important that implementation of this bill be prioritized by the state government. Francis Edit, Spectrum TV News.
Meanwhile, the Akwa Ibom State Police Public Relations Officer Diko Magdan, who confirmed the incident, said the police commissioner had held meetings with the local government chairman and some stakeholders from the community, adding that the matter was being handled. Still in Akwa Ibom, the state chapter of the National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives and Senior Staff Association of Nigeria University of Uyo chapter have decried the prolonged ASUU strike and called on the federal government to put an end to the ongoing strike. Speaking on the sideline of the nationwide NLC protest held across the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory, the chairman of the Association of Nurses and Midwives, Comrade M.M. David, who said nurses had been badly affected by the strike, called on President Muhammadu Buhari to end the ongoing crisis in the nation's academic system. Also speaking, the chairperson, Senior Staff Union of Nigerian University Uyo chapter, noted that while the union felt pained by the prolonged strike, it was hopeful that the move by the NLC would move the federal government to grant ASUU's prayers and end the strike. In another development, the Chief Judge of Akwa Ibom State, Justice Akaito Obot, has committed human rights lawyer Nibebo Ifyong to the State Correctional Center for 1 month over perceived contempt of court. Before ordering the conviction warrant, Justice Obot said the lawyer would need the correctional facility to purge himself of his alleged excesses and unruly behaviors that bring the court to disrepute. Ifyong is reportedly the defense counsel to Leo Ekpenyong in the case of libel by Governor Udom Emmanuel. Moving on now to Africa, where French President Emmanuel Macron has criticized African leaders' response to the Ukraine war during a press conference in Yaoundé, Cameroon. Macron hit out at what he referred to as the hypocrisy, particularly on the African continent, that denied that the Ukraine conflict was a war. Some African countries have reportedly held back from outrightly criticizing Russia's aggression in Ukraine. Macron, who was speaking alongside Cameroonian President Paul Biya, also said the only solution to Cameroon's Anglophone crisis was decentralization. Elsewhere, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has said Western countries are to blame for the soaring global food prices and fuel crisis while on a trip to Ethiopia as part of a 6-day Africa tour. He met Ethiopian officials and representatives of diplomatic corps. In his remarks to diplomats, Lavrov said the problems with the international food market started at the beginning of the pandemic and predates the Ukraine war. He said Western governments used trillions of dollars to buy food without any substantial reason. Lavrov added that the increase of the price of fertilizers was caused by what he called the reckless Western policy of the green transition, which he said discriminates the classic energy sources. In a related development, Ukraine says work has started at 3 ports aimed at forming green corridors to allow grain exports. A spokesperson for the Odessa Military Administration, Serhiy Brachuk, said naval teams will build routes out of southern ports in Odessa, Chornomorsk and Pivdeniv. Brachuk said once the routes were established, caravans of ships led by Ukrainian naval vessels would sail through the Black Sea. Kyiv and Moscow struck a deal to allow the grain exports last week. Under the deal, which was brokered by Turkey and the UN, Russia agreed not to target ports while grain was in transit, while Ukraine pledged to guide cargo ships through waters that have been mined. However, the agreement was thrown into chaos less than 24 hours after the deal was signed, when 2 Russian missiles targeted a port in the city of Odessa, but Russia said the attack targeted a Ukrainian naval ship docked in the harbor. Meanwhile, Turkey has formally opened a joint coordination center to oversee Ukrainian grain exports under a UN-backed deal aimed at resuming shipments from the war-torn country's Black Sea ports. Turkish Defense Minister Hulusi Akar unveiled the monitoring center in Istanbul at a ceremony held 5 days after Moscow and Kyiv signed the accord. Akar told reporters the goal of the facility was to ensure the safe shipment of grains from 3 Ukrainian ports, with more than 25 million tons of grain waiting there. Away from that, U.S. Justice Department is examining Donald Trump's actions in connection with efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 election. Federal prosecutors have reportedly asked witnesses directly about the behavior of the former U.S. president. So far, they have chosen not to open a formal criminal investigation into Trump himself. It will be recalled that rioters had stormed the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021 in an effort to overturn the president's election defeat. No former U.S. president has ever been indicted for criminal conduct. Now, on our business news, the Senate says it will summon the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, over inflation and naira devaluation. The lawmakers observed that the development had led Nigerians to more hardship. They lamented that the United States dollar to naira had now risen to 700 naira, which was very sad and calls for immediate attention. Still in business, naira fell significantly against the US dollar at the official market yesterday, a day after the currency recorded a meager gain at the spot market. According to data published on the FDMQ website, where Forex is officially traded, naira, which opened at 427 naira 30 kobo, closed at 431 naira to a dollar on Tuesday. This represents a 3 naira 87 kobo or 0.90% devaluation from 427 naira 17 kobo it exchanged in the previous session on Monday. Meanwhile, the International Monetary Fund (IMF) has retained projected economic growth of 3.4% for Nigeria in 2022. The Washington-based institution disclosed this in its World Economic Outlook (WEO) for July 2022. It explained that the outlook for countries in the Middle East and Central Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa, such as Nigeria, remained unchanged or positive due to elevated fossil fuel and metal prices for some commodity exporting countries. IMF, however, projected that the global economy would slow further to 3.2% in the year and 2.9% in 2023. Still to come in the news. Brazilian footballer Neymar faces fraud trial in Barcelona. Do stay with us.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the cases he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but you can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is
my lord.
this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Many thanks for staying tuned. Now in health, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control (NCDC) says 162 Nigerians have died from Lassa fever since the beginning of the year 2022. The agency also stated that the number of new confirmed cases reduced from 13 in week 27 to 5 cases. The NCDC announced this in its weekly situation report on the outbreak of the disease in the country. Data from the latest situation report for week 28, which covered July 11 through 17, show that there are 5,756 suspected cases of the infection across 99 local government areas in 24 states. Still in health, the Tuberculosis, Leprosy and Malaria Agency in Bauchi State has commenced the 2022 seasonal malaria chemo prevention mass campaign across the 323 wards of the 20 local government areas in the state. Speaking in Bauchi, the executive chairman of the agency, Dr. Sani Dambam, said the mass drug administration campaign, done in collaboration with the Malaria Consortium, is aimed at reducing the burden of malaria in children under 5 years by 75%. He said the exercise was most effective during the high transmission period from June to October every year. Now in sports, 9 years after footballer Neymar moved from Brazil to Barcelona, he faces trial for alleged irregularities surrounding the transfer. In a legal saga that has dragged on for years, the Brazilian international, who now plays for Paris Saint-Germain, is accused of fraud and corruption. The trial is due to take place for 2 weeks from 17th October, a month before the World Cup in Qatar. Several other figures are also due to stand trial. According to Spanish reports, 2 former presidents of Barcelona Football Club, Josep Maria Bartomeu and Sandro Rosell, as well as Neymar's parents, face the same allegations. Meanwhile, all those involved in the case have long denied the allegations made by investment fund DIS, which argued it was entitled to 40% of Neymar's 2013 transfer fee when he left Brazilian club Santos. Still in sports, Borussia Dortmund striker Sebastian Haller will be out for a few months after having surgery on a testicular tumor. Recall that the 28-year-old Ivory Coast forward was diagnosed last week during the team's pre-season training camp in Switzerland. Dortmund sporting director Sebastian Haller said he had a successful operation last week. Haller joined the Bundesliga side from Ajax earlier this month for 31 million euros after a short spell at West Ham. Away from that, Wolves striker Raul Jimenez will be out of action for a number of weeks after injuring his knee and groin in a pre-season friendly. 31-year-old Jimenez was withdrawn early in a 3-0 win over Besiktas after feeling discomfort to both areas on stretching for the ball. The club said he had suffered a medial collateral ligament injury to his knee and a minor strain of his abductor. Wolves start their Premier League campaign against Leeds on August 6. And finally, in sports, England's Asha Smith has withdrawn from the Commonwealth Games with a light hamstring strain. Asha Smith pulled up with the injury while competing for Great Britain in the women's 4x100-meter relay final at the World Championships on Monday. Reports say she had won bronze in the 200 meters at the event just a few days before, and she needs a few days off to protect the minor problem. Recall that Asha Smith came third in the 200 meters at the Commonwealth Games on the Gold Coast 4 years ago. She also won gold as part of the England 4x100-meter relay team. And on our entertainment news, we have Pete O'Brien standing by.
Hello, welcome and thanks for joining me on the entertainment desk this evening. I am Pete O'Brien. First off on our bulletin this evening, Burna Boy feels Thames appear on Barack Obama's 2022 summer playlists. Former President Barack Obama, every summer since the year 2015, releases an annual summer playlist that features songs he listens to. On Tuesday, 26 July 2022, Barack Obama released a summer playlist for the year, and it features Fields' Finesse, Burna Boy's Lassa, and Thames Vibes Out, amongst other tracks. Afrobeat in Barack Obama's summer playlist is not the first time that Afrobeats actually featured on the famous summer playlist of the 44th US president. In 2019, Rema's Iron Man made the playlist, while in 2020, Wizkid Essence also made the list. Notable inclusions in the list also include Kendrick Lamar, Wyclef Jean, Beyoncé, with the track Break My Soul, and others. In other stories making our bulletin this evening, 50 Cent reacts to NYC's pastor being robbed of $1 million worth of jewelry during church service. A high-profile Brooklyn pastor was robbed during a live-streamed church service on Sunday morning, July 24. According to NYPD, Bishop Lamar Whitehead and his wife had more than $1 million worth of jewelry snatched from them by masked gunmen. The rapper 50 Cent is never one to hold back his opinions and has fired away on Twitter, giving his candid reactions to the viral robbery. He said on his verified Twitter page, "Meanwhile, back in New York, they are robbing the church while it's in service," while he shared footage of the incidents. Bishop Whitehead had become known for showing off his wealth through jewelry and other prized items, which made him a prime target of the robbery at the Leaders Tomorrow's International Church. Reports say no injuries were recorded during the robbery, while Whitehead said he had chased the three masked men outside the church with claims that they got into a white Mercedes-Benz before changing clothes. No arrests have been made in the case yet. Despite being a victim of armed robbery, it doesn't sound like Whitehead intended to change plans of flashy images and designer threads. He said it's not about him being flashy, but about him being able to purchase what he wants as his prerogative purchase, earning that he had worked for them. He says he had worked for them and is allowed to be able to purchase what he wants. Finally, from the entertainment desk this evening, the Headies Awards organizers withdraws Portable's nomination due to police investigation. The Headies Academy has announced its withdrawal of 2 nominations awarded to an Afrobeat rising act, Habib Okikiola, known as Portable. The announcement was made on Tuesday, 26 July 2022, via Headies' social media platforms. The Headies Academy's decision was necessitated by Portable's recent running afoul of the law, as he claimed that he was the founder of the deadly 1 Million Boys gang, which terrorized Lagos citizens during the COVID-19 lockdown. Portable would later refute these claims after it attracted wide criticisms and led to a police investigation. Portable had previously threatened to kill other nominees should he fail to win either of his 2 categories he was nominated for. The Headies issued a notification of disqualification, which means that Portable would not be getting a chance to win the Rookie of the Year, neither would he be able to win the Best Street Hip Hop, for which he was nominated for. And that's our package from the entertainment desk this evening. I am Peter Bryan, thanking you for watching. Over to Xavier Roberts.
And that's all we have for you at this time. Do ensure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtv.ng. You have been watching Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert. And to have a terrific night rest.